which is why corruption is at its highest order. Do you agree?
I mean, you make a good point, and theoretically what you say could be true, but see, the word developing is a very dubious term, because developing is an ongoing process. I cannot say that India, in some ways, India is more developed than the U.S., in some ways the U.S. is more developed. I mean, you could really debate that. The U.S. has gone through pockets. I mean, you're talking about struggles in the Great Depression, but it wasn't until 1964 that actually blacks and whites could sit down and talk to each other, let alone drink water. And that was from a movement by Martin Luther King, who started it off through Gandhi as an inspiration. And that was a very nonviolent struggle. Now, you're talking about here, India has been in some ways highly developed. I mean, if you look at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and you go all the way back like 4,000 years, you're talking about a system of sewers and a sewage system that is incredible, that you can actually say they were so developed back then. You're talking about literature, you're talking about history, you're talking about art that has been immensely developed. So to what degree is it developed? I mean, you're talking about from a very infrastructure-based way. I think we have definitely...
I'm talking about the larger picture that we are looking at. I'm talking about the economic conditions, I'm talking about the per capita income, I'm talking about the lifestyle of the common man. We're not talking about the richer class, we're not talking about the ones who are categorized in the BPL zone. I'm talking about just the middle class.
Well, if you want to talk about the middle class, well, first of all, the existence of a middle class itself is a positive thing, of course, and that is something that a certain society that is like post-industrialization, post-industrial revolution, is coming to terms with itself. That's a wonderful thing. But I cannot say that India is economically, in any way, much more developed. I mean, we have a long way to go. I mean, we actually, considering that the kind of poverty that I see on the streets every day, the kind of poverty that any one of us sees when we go to different areas, we actually have the most crores in the world. I mean, that is saying something in the fact that there's an imbalance in the kind of funding that people do have and how many people. So I'm not going to say that economically or educationally or in any way equality-wise we're in any way developed. We have a long way to go. But the positive thing is this kind of Jan Lokpal is a monumental step. I mean, you're talking about transparency that will have to be done, and if we don't take the normal Lokpal and we get the Jan Lokpal that's going to be passed, then we'll have agency, we'll have an ability to prosecute. That means if somebody does something bad on a time frame, this is the degree of this monumental is amazing. I mean, you will have somebody who can basically, now you can find fault with them in 1 year, investigate. The next 1 year, you will put them in a trial. They have to be convicted or not in 1 year's time, and then you take action. So if you want to do that, you're talking about at least 80% of the politicians today. But what it will do is it will deter politicians from acting any further. It will kind of bring in a whole new public, and it will completely change the gamut of what is corruption on day-to-day life. And I think this is monumental.
All right, therefore, coming to you. Chetan was just talking about how we have so many crores, and I'm sure you would agree. I mean, if you've been through the Forbes list, we have enough number of Indian streets being there. Is this largely because of corruption? Because the ones who have the money can afford to bribe, and the ones